By popular request, I've been doing a different type of a workshop recently. I've been dealing with a lot of what I would call multi-module products, where it's complex to know exactly, when you've got a lot to train on, what exactly to get your customers to know during the implementation phase, right? If you're a singular product and you don't have that many modules to it, you data load, train the users, things like that. When you've got lots of different modules, it's a little bit more complex, and something I've been focused on almost for a year now with some different clients. And if you folks see, if I just switched over to this tab for a second, this is my book, and I'm almost done with it, but this whole multi-module thing is what I really wanted to fix before I let it go. So I'm pretty much there now, and I wanted to show you all this sort of workshop that I've done. When you go in and you talk to people, they can really get focused on all the different things that their product does. So what I did, I always start from pre-sales and the customer journey and work my way forward and try and find out with the teams what's working and what's not working. And, if you walk into a team and say, hey, we're trying to scale, don't like to say, hey, things are broken, because that's not what exactly is going on. It's just you're taking a pause and reevaluating. I've come up with this easy framework. I'm going to be honest. I was trying to use some Miro templates that are out there, especially around the jobs to be done framework or any brainstorming. They're complex. They look amazing. But I've just found that if I'm bringing in people that aren't used to doing UX complicated research and things like that, I took some classes 20 years ago and I still couldn't understand a lot of the stuff there. It's going to slow down your session, right? So let me show you exactly how to do this here. If you go into Miro, and hopefully you're following along here, and you just searched on Brainstorm. Let me just search on, you go into templates. The Miroverse is some fun stuff too. I just like to go in here, search on brainstorming, and I grab this one here. It's this little grid, 4x4, and I'll show you exactly what I do. So if I went in here and did this use thing, I showed you the end result there. You basically have this grid here to put your topics in. For what I like to do, and just to do it quickly, I do jobs to be done, customer, right? What are our customers trying to do, right? What are their outcomes, right? And again, we're taking it back to, I was told to use this software. My boss bought this for me. These are the jobs that I need to do. These are the outcomes. This is how I will be measured. We're all doing this at our kickoffs, right? This is like the customer of you're working on your own software, and this is how I structure proper implementations. And the customer success and support model as well too. I then get into what are blockers, and again, when you're doing these things, I try and make them very open. People are like, is it a customer blocker? Is it the software blocker? I'm like, just list off the blockers, right? And then we go. I just like to go into a little brainstorming thing, and whatever I title these, they're usually around the cool things we thought about doing. What are we not doing? What are we not doing? But it's a brainstorming session, right? Once I've sort of created these, I like to give these some different color codings. So you'll go in here. I won't do them all, but I'll just say, I'll show you the end result, and we'll create these as like green. And these will be whatever, like, cyan, and these will be a little bit of red. And these will be some blues, right? And then you basically can go into here and then right click and hit duplicate, right? Hopefully, I swear, Miro can do so much. This stuff happens to me all the time. Let's just duplicate this whole board. I am going to fix this in the edit. All right. Right click and duplicate. All right. So then I basically, you can move these in any sort of little way that you want to. I like to just kind of move them around like we were sitting at a big old table, and just kind of put them into place. I am sure anybody who's watching here that uses Miro a lot is laughing at me because they've been through this thing. It just does so much. Sometimes it just takes a little bit to get up to speed here. I will speed this section up while we're talking. Okay, great. So then you have your landscape, right? And again, what I do is I essentially explain the grid to everybody and say we're not talking about a feature or module. We're talking about X, Y, and Z. What are the outcomes? You guys know all this stuff. I just talked about it. So then I set the timer for 5 minutes, and we go into the jobs to be done. People load these things up, and while they're talking, I essentially will grab this little subject thing here. It's just a little tougher with the recording software, and make this really big, right? And then drag it around a little bit. That thing's messing me up with the script recorder. And then I just start dragging stuff over. And then I essentially say, okay, now we're going to give everybody 1 minute to go in and say if they made something green. And then we have all of these things green over there. I say go in and make something that is essentially, call it like light green or dark green, whatever. Essentially, it's a bordering color. Make sure to explain. Sometimes you have some people that are hard with color blindness or color differentiation. So learn that rule along the way. And then you just kind of go about and go through all of these different ones, right? And give it 5 minutes. If I try not to shut down the conversation too much. The fact that you get a bunch of people talking is amazing. It's terrible when they're not. And let me zoom out. Let me show you this one. I definitely am doing a zoomed out version because I've removed the customer names and some stuff that would make anything, recognizable or whatever. But I went essentially in the order of jobs to be done, essential training topics, right? This is for the implementation aspect of stuff, blockers, and so you notice how this is kind of all random, and then suddenly it starts getting some form, and then suddenly it's like very sorted here. This is total self-organization by the team that I do these with. I'm starting to kind of sort and move these things around. They see me doing it. Next thing you know, they're moving them, and then suddenly it's amazing, right? And this sort of sorting exercise really works because people will see they start grouping a lot of the same topics as well. As you can see, the things in the purple along the top here are the super most important things, and then people started sort of aligning those things, right? So let's talk about this, and I can show you the customer success one as well too. I got out of that one, but essentially, what are we getting at here? What's the jobs to be done? How do we train them on it? What are the blockers that are stopping them? What should we be doing? If I went for pause for one quick second, and we go back now into the customer support and success brainstorming, you'll see, okay, what's the job to be done? What's the ROI to the customer? And you'll see like, hey, we're streamlining operations. Zoom in a little bit here, zoom in a little bit. We're streamlining operations. We're, trying to make sure that repeat work is easier, visibility. You see all these little nice things, and I'm going to be sorting and bucketing these things out here. What are the blockers that are stopping them? And then what are we not doing? So what's the job to be done? What are their outcomes? What's stopping them from getting to their outcomes? And hey, what's some brainstorming we can do to make things easier? These are two separate sessions, did them in an hour and 20 minutes each, and got a ton of information. Go through, marinate, let these things sit in for a little bit, do some sorting and moving around, and then we're able to kind of construct exactly what we need to do. For the success side of things here, we know that we're going to try and focus on these outcomes and make sure that these blockers aren't happening. If things are happening that are not being trained on or not in the product, or there's some change management that happens, it might be happening. And what we outlined is in the pre-sales phase. See here, I took a note here, better prep and pre-sales. These things were all kind of saying like, hey, they think it's too easy. They didn't know that they had to load data. They have to do X. They didn't know that it's a full-time job now, all these things. So there's definitely better prep and some change management aspects of things like that. And this is sort of how you do it. I mean, running the workshop's one thing. You hear all these insights and everything. You get this consensus from everybody that they're seeing this higher level picture. So now when you go into like, how do we structure our implementation? how do we build up our customer success workflow? How do we make sure that our support team is set up to be able to answer things correctly or in an expedient manner? It's all there. And you get this EOS, Employee Operating System, sort of consensus from everybody, and then you build in from there because you have this core level understanding that's zoomed out. But again, these are the things that we're reinforcing to our customers, why they should be renewing and upselling and all those other things, why they should be having satisfaction. If you focus on all these things here and then blend in a little bit of this, your customers are going to be in a much better spot.